Coming up, Tzu Chi volunteers from Southern Africa travel to Botswana to hold rice distributions for the needy. And we meet one of the burn victims of the Bali water park explosion, Peng Wenyu, and see how she is ready to face the trials ahead. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Mary Lee. Thank you for joining us. Recently, Tzu Chi volunteers from South Africa's Durban, Pretoria, and Johannesburg, and the landlocked country of Lesotho visited Botswana for the 8th time and brought rice from Taiwan with them to distribute to the needy residents in 4 communities. In total, 400 families were helped in this first winter aid distribution in Botswana. Here's more. This journey is filled with merriment. In total, 13 volunteers from South Africa's Durban and Pretoria and the landlocked country of Lesotho met up in Johannesburg to head towards Botswana for a rice distribution. This is also the 8th time that Tzu Chi volunteers have traveled to the country to offer their loving care.
Taiwan!
Local Taiwanese businessmen also joined the volunteers' ranks to help with the distribution, while community volunteers acted as translators. In just one day, volunteers visited 4 communities to distribute 400 sacks of rice. Upon arriving at Old Naledi, volunteers felt the recipients' impatience, as the recipients had been waiting for a long time for their arrival.
Our Durban sisters are left in South Africa. They left their homes, their children, their loved ones to come and help.
After Gladys's speech, the recipients' impatience transformed into gratitude, and the event continued smoothly. As the volunteers headed back to Johannesburg at the end of the day, they stopped by Langaville Primary School, where the principal has established a parent-volunteer team to help Tzu Chi with home visitations.
We wish you all the best, and for Master Ching and the love that you have displayed to all of us. Thank you very much.
The power of love is strong in Southern Africa as local volunteers spread Tzu Chi's ideals to more people and in turn continue to pay the love forward. We have more stories on aid distributions, but in the Philippines, Tzu Chi's rice relief for the poor and needy in 110 barangays in Leyte province has come to an end. For many of the recipients, this aid from Taiwan was a godsend, as the area has been suffering from a bad harvest this year. Upon receiving the rice, many of the recipients also shared their portion with family and friends, as they know that by sharing, their lives are more fulfilled. Tirso Abarakoso originally just came to pick up his rice from Tzu Chi. However, he saw he could be of some assistance. After helping with the rice distribution, Tirso then headed home with his 2 sacks of rice, which he immediately shared with his family and friends.
Because of my uncle's generosity, I too was able to receive some rice from Tzu Chi. He had no qualms about sharing his portion with the rest of us. I'm learning from the Tzu Chi volunteers to share my blessings with the less fortunate.
At another distribution in Tanawan, the rice was a welcome sight for recipients who have faced a bad harvest.
I'm really thankful for the volunteers, as they have continued to stay by our side through it all. It has been hard for us to get by recently.
Time is of the essence in Tzu Chi, as every second of every minute needs to be put to good use to help others. Even those whom we don't know, we happily give within our means to help the less fortunate.
Though the rice distribution has ended for the time being in Ormoc, recipients know that the love and care of the volunteers will be there in the days ahead. Next, we take a look behind the scenes of the rice distributions that recently came to an end in the Philippines' Leyte province. Many of the Tzu Chi volunteers that came to help traveled from Manila or Tacloban and stayed in prefab homes during their week-long event. Let's find out what lessons the volunteers walked away with at the end of their stay. order to help out at Tzu Chi's rice distribution in Ormoc, many volunteers travel from Manila or Tacloban to lend a hand. Instead of staying at hotels during their 1-week stay, the volunteers this time decided to experience living in prefab homes, which had no furniture but a jingsu folding bed for each volunteer.
The jingsu folding bed can also be converted into a sofa or a table.
Without electricity, volunteers used flashlights to help them see. Without running water, volunteers had to fetch their own water to use. However, not a word of complaint was heard.
For a family of 4, it's really a perfect size. There are separate rooms for the children and the parents, so it's really well designed.
May ano sila sa mag-asawa, natitirha, matutulugan. Magkakuryente dito.
It's very cool inside the house. The residents will be able to save some money because of the good air circulation with the windows. The screen windows can also keep the mosquitoes at bay.
After their 6-night stay at the prefabs, the volunteers are sad to say goodbye, as they have learned so much during their stay here.
We started with using 2 buckets of water a day to now using just 1 bucket of water a day. We learned that we can reuse the shower water by using it for the toilet.
Some actually enjoyed sleeping on the jingsu folding bed.
The bed we have at home is a mattress, but sometimes it's too soft and often we wake up with aches and pains. Here, even though the bed is hard, I slept quite well. Experiencing living the simple life, these volunteers walk away with a renewed outlook on what truly is important in life. In Taiwan, on the outskirts of Taidong City, sits Fuxing Elementary School. Most of the students attending the school come from marginalized families and are in need of assistance. To make sure its aid is put to best use while complementing that of other charities, the Tzu Chi Foundation has decided to construct the 50-year-old school a new school building. This community lies less than 100 meters away from Taidong's Fuxing Elementary School. As it sits quite close to the sea, the community floods whenever it rains. Most residents are migrants who have moved here in search of a better life. Du Jingyi is a 5th grader of Fuxing Elementary. She has an elder brother while her dad and mom work odd jobs to make ends meet. The family can only afford to rent a home here instead of inside the city.
There are no ditches here. Whenever it rains, rainwater will accumulate and often flood into homes.
我们这个学校算是台东市区的边缘。
Our school sits at the edge of Taidong City. Many of our students are being raised by their grandparents. Those parents that are still around spend most of their time working.
Though Du Jingyi's parents are always busy working, she's mature, optimistic, and hardworking, which puts both her parents and teachers at ease.
In our eyes, these families are disadvantaged and are in need of assistance. However, they are content with what they have and get by with what they have.
Marginalized families such as the Dus are everywhere in Taidong County. With parents hard at work to make ends meet, they rarely have the time to look after their children. To help, many organizations have stepped in to lend a hand.
When charities come in to lend a hand, they might all offer the same type of aid. Only by observing these students in schools for an extended period, however, can they truly grasp what these children need.
To help with after-school tutoring in remote townships, Chunting Academy was born.
These disadvantaged students need our support, but not just in the form of material aid. I think spiritual support is also very important.
The Academy organizes table tennis camps in summer and even teaches students aerial photography. The purpose is to give students something to do during summer and winter breaks.
不只是说希望孩子的基础能力。
Not only do we help raise their basic skills, which helps them in school, we also help build character so that they can better deal with problems in daily life.
品格素养都能够有所提升。
To do its part, the Tzu Chi Foundation is building Fuxing Elementary, a new school building, which will include 7 new classrooms, a library, a new immigrant service center, and several more multi-purpose rooms.
Eastern Taiwan has less access to public resources compared to the West. Many of schools here have very old buildings. Our school is already 50 years old, so our buildings are not quake-proof and need to be rebuilt.
A good education lasts a lifetime and is ever more important for the marginalized. The Tzu Chi Foundation hopes that its rebuilding efforts can help even the educational gap between Eastern and Western Taiwan and bring new hope to these isolated areas.
We have all come across teachers in our lifetime who have made a profound difference in our lives and helped shape our future. Beginning the second part of our program, we meet Guo Meifang, teacher of Taichung's Wufeng Elementary School. As Guo believes there is a seed of kindness in every child's heart, she has made it her mission to inspire their compassion and goodness. There is a seed of kindness in every child's heart, and it is a teacher's duty to nurture and cultivate those seeds so that they may one day blossom. Jingsi aphorisms have been a huge source of inspiration for me. When I first started teaching, I often felt despondent. I remember sitting in an empty classroom when suddenly a Jingsi aphorism popped into my mind. And in that moment, I found peace.
To Guo Meifang, Master Zheng Yin's Jingsi aphorisms are like nourishment for the soul. When students encounter difficulties, Guo helps them through with these words of wisdom.
可是有一只小老鼠很懒惰，它不愿意做。
Displaying a genuine care for his students, Guo Meifang has formed a close-knit bond with all of his students, present and former, over the years.
对他很会撒娇，会像这样回来看看我啦。
突然想哈，想念你，就觉得他很温柔到无法形容。
During break time, Guo Meifang's former students come rushing into her classroom to pay her a visit.
你看他满头大，你刚刚跑去哪里玩？
跑去操场，以前都。
We had gotten used to being with Miss Guo in 1st and 2nd grade. We have a new teacher now that we are in 3rd grade.
那你大概都是坐后面的前一个。
Even the school's former alumna remembers this kind and loving teacher.
心灵被抚慰。我看到老师。
Whenever I felt anxious or troubled, I felt calmer after seeing Mrs. Guo. Her guidance has helped me through some hard times.
帮我走出低潮。
In her 23-year teaching career, Guo Meifang has touched the lives of countless students.
我想要当一个。
I want to be a supportive and encouraging teacher to my students. I am willing to help them through tough times and be there for them every step of the way. That brings me joy, and it is all that matters to me.
With a genuine love and care, Guo Meifang continues to inspire her students and the one based in them.
是感恩，
感恩灯福，
教师节快乐。
感恩一起。
More than 100 days have passed since the Bali water park explosion took place, which shattered the lives of hundreds of burn victims and their families. In the beginning of a new series of reports, we meet one of the burn victims, Peng Wenyu, who has gone through her rehabilitation with courage, and see how her story of survival could be an inspiration for all of us.
这个是我以前，这一张是我去8仙前拍的。
Looking at the photos on her mobile phone, Peng Wenyu vividly remembers the day the explosion took place.
因为我站在第一排的栏杆上，
I was standing right behind the guardrail and fell on the ground with my hands on fire. I knew I wanted to live. There was only one word in my mind, which was run.
这我要活着，所以我脑袋只有一个字：跑。
Not leaving their daughter's side, the hospital has become almost a second home for Peng's parents.
要啊，好，
去哪呢？那洗衣板热在哪里吗？
洗头板啊，
洗衣板啊，爸爸。请你讲。
我是头，不是衣服啊。这里。
对。
下面，这里好痒。
Enduring terrible pain during rehabilitation, Peng cried many times, but she never gave up.
我期待说，1年以后。
I hope that she will at least recover 80% this year.
I put in the contact lenses myself. My big eyes are back.
Now discharged from the hospital, Peng faces a new set of challenges along her path to recovery, but she's ready to face the trials ahead with courage and optimism.
Switching our cameras to Singapore, we meet a mother-daughter pair who has found love and support at the Singapore Tzu Chi Free Clinic. Chen Tianfeng is visually impaired but insists on caring for her elderly mother, even though that has taken a toll on her own health. Thanks to the doctors at the Singapore Tzu Chi Free Clinic, Tianfeng has been able to stay healthy while caring for her elderly mother.
Pushing her mother's wheelchair, Chen Tianfeng practices strolling inside their home. The practice and repetition are needed as Tianfeng suffers from extremely poor vision. When Tianfeng's mother fell ill 8 years ago, doctors suggested Tianfeng send her mother to a nursing home. However, Tianfeng and her elder sister insisted on caring for their mother themselves, even though that means frequent sleepless nights.
It is my blessing. One who cares for their parents is blessed. It is no big deal. I can touch her. I feel very happy just seeing her get up every morning.
Tianfeng's fatigue has further impaired her vision.
Fortunately, I went to Dr. Li 2 years ago, or else I would have become blind.
Tianfeng and her mother look forward to going to the Singapore Tzu Chi Free Clinic on Fridays, where they can consult with Dr. Li Xianwei. With Dr. Li's care and support, Tianfeng is able to continue caring for her mother.
My entire family is grateful to Tzu Chi and Dr. Li. He is truly kind. He truly cares when he is treating you or talking with you.
The 4-year-old Department of Traditional Chinese Medicine at the Singapore Tzu Chi Free Clinic is small, but the doctors there have already done much to safeguard the health of the surrounding community, one family at a time.
Helping the planet by collecting recyclables is Zheng Xiumei from Malaysia's Selangor. The volunteers has collected recyclables for the past 7 years in spite of her family's initial doubts. Through her tireless effort, Zheng has reduced the amount of garbage in her community and formed good affinities with those in her neighborhood. On her way home after her morning exercises at the park, Zheng will collect the recyclables along the road and make handicrafts with the recycled materials she finds.
For Zheng Xiumei from Selangor, Malaysia, collecting recyclables is part of her daily routine.
Do not turn recyclables into garbage. If no one collects them, they simply become garbage. Then there will be more garbage on our earth.
Zheng started collecting recyclables 7 years ago. She collects recyclables in parks and on the streets, giving them a second lease on life.
My family asked me in the beginning why I wanted to turn my home into a garbage dump. I explained to them that I wash and store the recycles neatly at home. Recycling is something that I simply love doing.
Zheng persevered with her initial intention to protect the environment. Over time, her family and friends saw the fruits of her recycling efforts.
People ask me, don't you use a lot of water in rinsing the recyclables? To them, I say, I reuse water whenever possible and only pour it out when it becomes too dirty.
After cleaning, Zhen stores the recyclables neatly at home, where she uses them to make handicrafts.
This is a fish with a Jingsi aphorism attached to it. The recycling station in this community might open next month, and I want to give this to people who come to the opening ceremony.
Zhen has persisted in cherishing natural resources while forming good affinities with countless people along the way.
All members of the DaAi Senlin Culture and Art Troupe are indigenous Bunong people who survived Typhoon Morakot in 2009 and relocated to the Shanlin DaAi community thanks to Tzu Chi. The leader founded the troupe to reciprocate Tzu Chi's kindness to his people since the disaster. Currently, the troupe is touring around Taiwan to give their thanks to Tzu Chi volunteers personally. We now join a recent concert at the Taoyuan Jingsi Hall. A drum roll empowers the audience at the Taoyuan Jingsi Hall, just like how Tzu Chi volunteers empowered the victims of the 88 flood.
他们主要就是来回馈，
反差就是一个变成很正面，然后很开朗。
The band is made up of members who were previously flood victims. Having endured hardship, their voices are even more powerful and inspiring.
Every week, Tzu Chi volunteers came to visit our community to understand the needs of our elderly. Slowly, we came to know each other. The distance between us melted away as we became one family. Not long ago, I talked to Mr. Cho about the controversies surrounding Tzu Chi. And so he said he wanted to bring his troupe out and come cheer us up. He said if it wasn't for Tzu Chi, his troupe would not exist. I replied, that would be wonderful.
The gratitude concert is to thank everyone for their support of Tzu Chi's missions. The message of rebirth delivered by these indigenous performers has made the event even more special.
Through touring around the country, they hope to tell the public of the good deeds that Tzu Chi has done, and also to empower and encourage our volunteers to persevere.
The seed of love planted 6 years ago have blossomed and are now helping Tzu Chi overcome its many challenges. As the Tzu Chi volunteers in Canada have long shown their support for the Burnaby Hospital in British Columbia, on September 24th, the two organizations unveiled a joint traditional Chinese medicine clinic at the Burnaby Hospital to further help bring medical services to those in need. We will leave you with these images at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.